So I think we can all understand and agree that diet is a huge foundational, fundamental piece of having real health, real vitality, real longevity. And I'm making this video because a lot of people ask me, and it's one of the most common questions I get is, oh, how do you eat? What do you do? Are you this? Are you that? Are you vegan, vegetarian, raw foodist, paleo, primal, breatharian, whatever? And to me, of course, diet is important, but what I notice is that it's a great starting point. It's a great place to begin. It's a great first step. But what happens is we can get stuck, we can get hung up and sort of fixated on this one thing and kind of end up becoming Johnny One Note. So basically what we're going to do in this video is look at all the different ways in which we get energy and nourishment and see which is really the most critical for life, and then decide for ourselves if we're devoting enough attention in the right place at the right time, or if we're sort of choking off one area and overemphasizing another area. So first, let's look at where we get energy, where we get nourished from, and which is the most critical for life. So essentially, we get energy from breathing, obviously, from the oxygen. We get water, is also a form of nourishment. Sleep is a form of nourishment. Exercise, as well as food, our diet. So let's look at, how long can we go without each of these? So for breathing, it's an average of 2 or 3 minutes before that's it, before we're done. We're either going to pass out or we're going to die. And we can hold our breath for a fraction of that time and generally not feel very good. Or we can go through life and breathe really suboptimally and not very effectively, and that's going to keep our energy pretty massively diminished. Second to that, let's look at how long we can go without water. About 3 days before that's it, it's done. And some people are just living chronically dehydrated, and that's actually an underlying cause of a lot of illness and imbalance, is just being purely dehydrated. So we have breath, we have water, now we have sleep. Now, most people can go, a couple days without sleep, and, before they start really hallucinating and they start really losing it. And, obviously there's exceptions. There's people who've set world records and done extreme things, but that's sort of irrelevant to our conversation here. Now, if you think about it, if you get a poor night's sleep, you don't really sleep that well, that affects you the next day, sometimes even on to the next day. It just depends on your own metabolism. So we can see how important, how critical that is for energy and for nourishment. On top of that, there's exercise. Now, some people never exercise, and so they probably just feel like crap all the time. But for people who sort of exercise pretty regularly, it's usually we can go about 2 or 3 days before we start feeling kind of lethargic and sluggish and heavy and sort of weighed down. Now, some people, it's about 2 or 3 days. Other people, if you're used to operating at a high level, it's about 12 to 24 hours before you're like, all right, I need to move. I'm feeling stiff. I need to go, go do this. I need to go move. I need to go exercise, move some energy, move some breath, etc. And then last on the list, there's food. People can go 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or even longer without food. So again, we can see all these different areas where we get energy, where we get nourishment, and we can sort of see, on the one end we can go 2 or 3 minutes without air before we're done. We can go 2, 3, 4 plus weeks without food before we're done. And then in between there's our water, our sleep, our exercise, and all of those other things which I mentioned. So then we can see from all these examples that all of these things are critical for life and thus key sources of energy and of nourishment. And for that reason, for that common sense, observable, tangible, practical reasoning, we can see that it makes sense to optimize each of these areas, because each of these areas are critical for energy, for nourishment, which then create our state of health, create our state of vibrancy, create our overall lifestyle. So then, if we're truly interested in health, if we're truly interested in attaining vitality and longevity, wouldn't it make sense to optimize all of these areas? And if we're really interested in health, vitality, longevity, and feeling vibrant and alive, we have to ask ourselves, how much time and energy are we investing in each of these categories? And are we favoring one over the other? Or are we sort of Johnny One Note? Meaning, are we one of these people that walk around and say, oh, I eat this diet. That's all I need to do. I'm a vegetarian. I'm a raw foodist. I get it. I'm enlightened. I'm conscious. Everyone else on this side is not, because they don't get it. Or, I eat primal. I eat paleo. I eat the caveman diet. And all these other people don't get it. Or even other people say, oh, I go to the gym 5 days a week, do X amount of cardio, do X amount of reps. I can bench this. I can squat that. I'm healthy. I'm this. I'm that. But in reality, it's just one little piece of the puzzle. And just in this limited concept, in this limited context, we can see all these other areas and all these other ways in which we're getting energy and nourishment. So we have to ask ourselves, are we sort of ignoring one over the other, overemphasizing and underemphasizing other things? And are we really living holistically and doing what we can to optimize each of these areas? Now again, with all of that being said, it's obvious you can only start where you're at. Meaning you can only start with one thing, and then once you get to that one thing, then you build up to the next thing, and you build up to the next thing, and realize that it's never all done. Meaning you're not going to wake up tomorrow and everything is optimized and perfect and you can just go back to sleep and curl up. That's impossible. That's not how life works, because we're constantly moving, flowing, adapting, and changing. Things are always shifting around us, so we have to do what we can to adapt and stay fresh and stay present with that. So just keep those things in mind and really meditate upon these things which we've gone over. It's something which has really helped me out a lot. Someone who started off, really into the diet this and the diet that, and thinking, oh my God, I got it all figured out. All I got to do is just eat this and don't eat that, and that's all I got to do. I'm failing to realize, oh wait, there's exercise, there's my relationships, there's my meditation, there's mental, emotional aspects, there's water, there's breathing, there's sleep, there's exercise. There's all these other things which play a huge role, if not a bigger role, which we've seen here. So then for that reason, it makes sense to optimize all of these areas when we can, how we can, and just doing the best that we can. So hopefully that's been helpful. If you have any questions or comments, post them below, and I'll talk to you soon.